All right, welcome once again, my beauties and bees, to Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal, and the hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I am your host, Ms. Bumblebee, and today we are going to go into the world of magic, the world of indigenous magic meets Catholicism, really, is what it comes down to. A lot of interesting spiritualities popped up, from the fusion of native practices and the colonizers' religion. Kind of a way to merge them. One of the more popular ones that people talk about is Santeria, which has a Catholic kind of origin, but the one that is most popular in America, partly because the capital of this practice is in America, New Orleans, is voodoo, right? And voodoo is probably most famous for two things, probably voodoo dolls, which is the little poppets that you poppet is a little doll, and you can make it out of wax or cloth or whatever, and you stick pins in it, and you can bind it with another person. You can do all kinds of stuff with a voodoo doll. And that's not a unique practice to voodoo. There's been practitioners of various ancient European and Asian groups that they all practice this sympathetic magic. But today we're not even talking about that, so I don't know why I'm giving you too much details about it. It's called sympathetic magic. It's I make this do this, therefore this does that. People have been doing it since Paleolithic times. Today we're talking about something a little more real, though, a little more actual, factual, real that actually happened. Today we're talking about the voodoo zombie, which is the origins of the zombie. Now, I found a really good article about the zombification process, right? And I'm like, yes, this is what I want to do. I pulled it up, and we explored the concept a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to do. But as I read through the article, I started thinking, it's Black History Month, and I'm learning about zombies from a guy named Nathan Klein. Not to give Nathan Klein any shade or anything. I'm sure he's a fine researcher, but this is Nathan Klein, blue eyes and all. So what I'm thinking is, why do I want to learn about African cultural practice from a white man? No offense, but I don't. I want to kind of lean into the Black History Month and give the floor to somebody else. So there's a channel that I watch that talks about African folklore and things. They talk about all kinds of supernatural stuff. They ghost hunt and all. I've been meaning to try to find something to cover from her, because she's got this spunk to her I like. But now I'm not gonna kid glove her or anything. When she makes magical claims, I'm like, I'm gonna critique it. But I do like her style. This is called the Black Cauldron. She has almost 60K subscribers, so it's a pretty big channel. But yeah, she's kind of a spiritualist person too. So yeah, let's give her the floor. Y'all want to?
This person up, give them more of the spell, which is usually either injected or it is a paste. And
no.
they
rewind. There we go. All right. Let me know how the audio is too. Hey, Cobble's Granny, good to see you. Hi. Well,
welcome back, YouTube. And if you are new here, hi, My name is Noah. I am a spiritualist, and on my channel, we talk about death, true crime, haunted people, places, and things, spiritual reparations, and how you can fuck around and find out. If you are not following me on this platform or over on TikTok, go ahead and subscribe now. If you are following me and your notification bell is not on, what we really doing? Go ahead and turn it on so you'll know when I post. Before I even get started with this video, I want to thank all of my live callers that called in last Friday to tell us their true crime, spooky, paranormal, alien-esque, yes, that is not a word, I just made it up.
Well, no, I think alien-esque is a word. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Alien-esque. Yes, alien-esque means it's an adjective that means the suggestive of an alien. So no, you're good. You're good, girl.
Stories. We truly appreciate your support. We will be back at our second home at Bazaar Junkies this Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which I believe is 8 p.m. Central and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you have a scary story or a weird story, feel free to call in. We want to hear from you. Today's episode, we are
Again, let me know if the volume's okay, but I think we're good.
going to be talking about the Haitian zombie. Now, I know we've touched on the zombie in a couple of other videos that I have, and it seemed like you guys were really interested. I got some really interesting emails, which I just may read at the end of this video. But I did get some emails regarding zombie and requests, so I wanted to share a story, actually two stories, that I came across where people said that they were zombies. And they came back from the dead decades after they were buried. But before we even get started on these stories, I have to explain what a Haitian zombie is. Because
it's not the same thing as our Americanized version. Yes, native atheist, you are right. There is gonna be some puffer fish action, but they also used our lovely Bufo marinas, the Sonoran giant toad that was in the Look the Toad video at the beginning of the show. They used that secretions too. So yeah, you can lick the puffer fish. Or why I don't even know why people eat puffer fish. That's crazy to me. Why do that? Zombie. Yeah, she says zombie. I love the way she says it. It's like it's lit.
it is not what us Westerners, us Americans, look at as zombies. A zombie in Haitian culture is someone that is under a spell and not able to move freely as they would if they had free will. Usually it is someone that has been hexed, crossed, bewitched by a bokor. And a bokor...
Zombie, yeah, you like that? So yeah, by a bokor, but and I'm with her on this. I don't think that there's actually any magic going on. I think that they poison them. I'm pretty sure they poison them somehow. They find a way to poison them, and then that makes them their slave.
It's like a sorcerer. The spell that they put them under is so strong that whenever they fall ill and they go to hospitals and they are seeking help,
we will get to the serpent and the rainbow, Dave. Yeah, we're gonna get there. So you went to Kent Hovind School for Kids That Can't Brain Good. A doctorate, because you got a doctorate in bullshit, Dr. Mordecai. Gotcha. Okay.
And they finally die, or what the doctors think is dying. There's no pulse. It's so faint that you can barely hear it, and most doctors miss it. Once they pronounce them dead, of course, there is a funeral that takes place, and then the bokor goes to the cemetery and digs this person up, give them more of the spell, which is usually either injected or it is a paste, and they are used. They're basically their slave. A lot of people are used in sugar cane plantations to harvest.
It's essentially like a chemical lobotomy. Is the behavioral impact of it? They really they wander around like Well, like zombies. They wander around like zombies, and they follow simple instructions to do very simple tasks. But for the most part, I don't know. I don't know that they're more beneficial. Besides that, they don't try to escape. But as we find out, just watch and see.
Sugar, or they are just underneath the Bakor's spell. Now that you know what a zombie is in Haiti, wherever you're from, however you pronounce it, let's get into the meat and potatoes because these two stories are super interesting. And I'm excited to see what you guys think. On October 24th, 1936, a woman staggered into a village in Haiti, and her name was Felicia Felix Mentor. This was in Eerie, Haiti. And if I'm saying it wrong, if I say anything in this video wrong, please correct me. I'm trying to work on my dialect. The woman staggered in.
Girl, you're like gonna be way ahead of me, so don't even worry about judgment about your dialect from me, unless it's pronouncing or enunciating certain species names or something. But even then, I don't really hassle people because Linnaeus. Keep this in mind when you hear people saying, that's not the proper way to say this in Latin. Linnaeus wrote what's this book called? I feel so stupid now. I don't have it already ready. Yeah, the classification system. What's the fancy name for it? I like saying it in the Latin. I know it's called Linnaeus classification system in English. Damn it. Anyway, but when he invented that system, the Latin language had already everywhere. He's inventing this in like the 1700s, and he's just doing it because it's the ancestral tongue. That's why he's using Latin. But there's no modern version that no one's heard ancient Latin spoken, right? So there's some convention there that you can work with. There's no right way to say a lot of these things, technically.
Into this village. She had no eyelashes. She was naked, and she just happened to have a limp. And the village goes into complete panic because they see this woman and they recognize something is very off about her. And if you know and you're well tapped in the Haitian community, then you know she looked like what they suspected her to be. What panicked the community was that she resembled someone that they had buried 29 years prior in 1907. And that limp was from a fractured leg that this person had experienced many, many years prior to her staggering back into her village. Her family members eventually got word of this and they identified her as Felicia Felix Mentor because you know your kin. You know when you know. And her family knew. The woman was taken to a government facilitated hospital and she was confirmed to be Felicia Felix Mentor. And the famous author Zora Neale Hurston actually took a photo of this woman and wrote about this woman in one of her books. Now,
that is actually how she looked. That's like the real photo of how she looked when she came out of the stage. Except she was naked. They put clothes on her here. But yeah, that's actually how she looked after being subjected to almost 30 years of this chemically induced state. Like basically being in a essentially like a coma-like state for that long.
Also talked to the physicians that was treating Felicia and told them the Haitian folklore and what they believe happened. The doctors just kind of brushed it off. They really didn't believe Ms. Zora because this was all folklore or whatever the case may be. They were suspecting that there was a suppressant, some type of drug that was given to Felicia to stop her free will, to keep her wandering, but it doesn't explain how Felicia got out of the grave after 29 years. Zora Neale Hurston then
I don't think she climbed out of the grave after 29 years, but I would suspect what happened was that the Bokor came and and retrieved his victim very, very soon after burial. Right, she only had so much oxygen in the casket. So I would speculate most sincerely that that she had not been in the grave for 29 years, but in the service of this Bokor under this chemically induced state, like the hospital folks kind of speculated as well. Now, this doesn't downplay the fact that they do this stuff, and that it is a form of, technically a form of like dangerous witchcraft. So I mean, like one of the very few cases where which people are actually using witchcraft methods that are effective and can actually render the victims, you know, in this state. So yeah, I'm with it.
The photo over to Life magazine and also put the story.
You think it was somebody different? You think it was a different woman? The next one, I'm pretty sure they were able to confirm it's actually him. Yeah. You might be right. It might be a different woman.
Of this woman into her famous book, Tell My Horse. Pause. Let me just pause because I gotta keep it real. Y'all my family, y'all my friends. I love Zora Neale Hurston's work. I mean, some of my favorite books are written by her. But I feel like this kind of gave voodoo a little bit of a bad stigma. It was already this horrific rumor that voodoo practitioners ate children and sacrificed babies. And I feel like this was more a monetary thing for her book.
That sounds like my little atheist community out here. You all eat babies and stuff, right? Nom nom nom. Yeah. So having and again, we will look at the way to actually that they actually do this with the like chemically how they do this. So we are going to cover that.
And it really didn't align with my values because voodoo is not that at all. We do have dark practitioners, of course, with any religion. You're going to have people that use it for their own gains. But
oh yeah, that's true, Sumami. You guys ate babies too. So you ate babies as an atheist and a Romani. So do you get a second helping of baby when you do that, or do you have to like wait a day and then eat one as, so you like go back and forth, eat one as an atheist and then one as a Romani? Let us know in the comments below. How do you do it in your tradition?
Sending that photo over to Life magazine when there was already a bad stigma with voodoo, I feel like was more harmful than helpful. And it was definitely to promote the book, in my humblest opinion. So they take Felicia to this government hospital and they give her a full rundown, a health evaluation.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be to promote the book. That's, yay, capitalism. Sorry about your culture.
They diagnose her with schizophrenia. And then they also record how she's speaking, how she's communicating, and it's not making sense. Now, another pause. It is said in Haitian voodoo, whenever a Bokor does this to their victims, they have to keep feeding them the spell or whatever it is to continue this.
It's chemistry is what it is. But yeah.
Like mind game. And it's also said that if the Bokor dies, then they are released from their state of mind. They can wander and eventually will make it home. The doctors all but dismiss Zora Neale Hurston and they say all of her answers were unintelligible and irrelevant. Her occasional outbursts of laughter were devoid of emotion, and frequently she spoke of herself in either the first or third person without any sense of discrimination. She had lost all sense of time and was quite indifferent to the world of things around her.
That's a possibility too. There could have been a lot of factors that come into play. My thing is that they took her to a hospital and the hospital said, "Oh no, this person's been drugged." So there is actually a diagnosis for this woman to say. I could definitely see that it may not be the same woman that they're saying it is, but the person that they actually found wandering the streets naked had been drugged in this way, according to the hospital staff. At least from what I can see, there's not like hospital records or anything, just news reports. But that's the claim. And and at the time, I mean, they're trying to present the zombie spell or whatever as actual magic and not like a chemical reaction. It's a cool chemical reaction that they can actually manage to do this to people. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I'm not. But someone diagnosed her as schizophrenic. I imagine that after that this could probably induce schizophrenia too. The methodology that they used. Yeah, she could be schizophrenic as well, or have been schizophrenic, or maybe she was just literally just drugged, like by some other criminal means, just like regularly drugged, because they don't say what she was drugged with. But she could have been given any number of chemical compounds. If we don't have any details about it, we'll never know, to put her in this state. So there's a lot of factors that could come into play here. Yeah, I don't know. It's like a cocktail of different chemicals. Yeah, what other poisons would replicate those symptoms though? Datura, fugu fish, and bufo. Yeah, bufo marinus, or yeah, any of the bufos really.
I don't know. Sounds like a
Well, I
spell
don't
to
know.
me, but the fact that they
I don't even know if you gave somebody a strong sedative with like a bufo toxin. I wonder how pliable they would be. That's an interesting thought experiment. I guess there's probably ethical ways to do it, but I don't know about those higher doses that I think that they're working with. I don't know.
they buried this woman 29 years prior, and she was found wandering in her village.
The main reason is that I'm not going with the schizophrenia thing is because, I mean, if she was diagnosed with schizophrenia by doctors, then that's fine. But I'm not willing to take the leap to say that that the zombie of Asian folklore, and apparently history, is an example of people with mental disorders, because I think that puts a lot of stigma on the mental health aspect of things. But I don't waive the possibility that these people they would set out to target specifically people with these Bokors, that they would set out to target people with specific mental disabilities, right? I would not put that past these folks. A lot of people who want to manipulate folks will target those with, perceived mental illness or some other psychological struggle. So it's definitely not out of the question that those things could go hand in hand. It's just I don't know if there's the evidence to back that up all in the overall cases. But yeah.
Village. Y'all be the judge of that. No way am I saying that there wasn't worldly things that had to happen for these people to turn into zombies. What I'm saying is that there are things that we will never understand because we are not initiated, right? Because all it takes is a little tetrodotoxin and other ingredients from cemeteries and different things. I'm not saying I know the recipe. What I'm saying is that there's worldly and spiritual things that have to happen to turn someone into this. And I hear too many firsthand accounts of how people have been turned into zombies to be like, oh, that doesn't exist. I hear some pretty creepy shit on a regular basis. Our next story is of a man named...
Yeah, I'm just not convinced by anecdotes. I would love to hear some of the stories, but when I hear the stories, maybe some of the factors, some of the stuff that comes up in the stories could help me decipher how I feel about the claims, right? Like the situation things. Because there's people that are really susceptible to like hypnosis that can be hypnotized. I can't be hypnotized. I've gone to hypnosis things and I can't be hypnotized, but I've seen other people go up there and be hypnotized. So there's a lot of picking and choosing when it comes to a target for something like this, right? I don't know if a schizophrenic person would be a good target. That might be that. I would think a schizophrenic person would be more difficult to subdue with like a hypnotic method, right? With hypnosis, and like with even with chemically supplemented hypnosis. I think a schizophrenic person might be a struggle to maintain them. Yeah, but both of those can cause unconsciousness or death if dosing too high. I would wonder if they really do use marine frogs. Yeah, well, bufotoxin is wild, right? I mean, you all watched the thing at the beginning of the show. It really does alter your perception of reality, and you could potentially be very pliable. Again, with things like supplementing it. Let's choose somebody with a large bank account. Yeah, Datura helps with the mellow to mellow somebody down, right? And then they have, well, I don't know. You can have a psychosis episode on Datura too. I think Datura is more. I haven't tried Datura though. I watched some. I watched these channels. Me and Vandy Tapioca Weasel watched that when he came to visit. We were watching the tales from the trip and stuff. People talking about the different effects of different methodologies of hallucinogenics, and I think. Now that I think about it, maybe the Datura wasn't the more mellow one. Maybe the Datura was more the erratic one. No, I'm not going to try Datura. No. That's a terrible idea.
Named Clavarius Narcisse.
I wouldn't try Jimson weed either. Oh my gosh, that'd be terrifying.
And he is a man from Haiti who came wandering into his village and claimed that he was being used as a zombie. And people, the villagers, immediately recognized this man when he came home. On April 30th, 1962, Clavarius checked himself into Schweitzer Hospital, and that was an American hospital in Haiti. He had a fever, he was throwing up blood, he was lethargic, he was sick as hell. And that's another thing that I want to touch on. Whenever a Bokor does this, you are sick before you actually go into the zombie state. Very, very ill. So he goes into this American hospital and is treated by an American doctor, a team of American doctors. And they could find no explanation as to why he was so sick. His condition worsened, and 3 days later, he was pronounced dead, pronounced deceased. They put a toe tag on him, put him in the refrigerator, and waited for his family to come and claim his body so they could bury him. And that's exactly what they did. They held a funeral.
He was very much poisoned. If you have schizophrenia, it's no good to smoke weed, you know, because of the paranoia. I don't have schizophrenia. So, yeah, I smoke weed, though. I smoke weed for my anxiety, mostly. I just microdose, though. I have a tiny, tiny tool to just take tiny little doses to chill my anxiety out. I usually don't smoke on camera, though. At least not on my channel. On other people's channel, I will. He probably just needed fluids. I'm a doctor. It is in front of your name. I mean, I can't argue with that.
Funeral for this man. They buried him. They thought that it was over with. And this was in 1962. In 1980, a woman named Angelina was shopping in a market in Haiti, and a man approached her.
CC Hypno. I gotta read an Entropy fan's comment because it's wonderful. Let me clear my throat. It's clearly drugs in these cases. However, no one can explain how CC Hypno works on Steven Crowder and Matt Walsh every Friday night. You forgot Michael Knowles. Michael Knowles actually came out about it. He actually did it. He actually stepped forward and said, "I'm a CC Hypno addict," because it's turning him gay, turning him to the girl dick. What are you gonna do? All right, so this guy definitely sounds like he came in here poisoned, right? Clavarius, throwing up blood, nauseous and dizzy and ill, very much poisoned. We're going with the official statement is on that. It's including the drugs that were used on him were the puffer, where it included pufferfish venom and bufotoxin. So it did include the hallucinogenic compounds that we were just discussing. So there is that is included, but it's bizarre that he came to the hospital, right, and didn't report any of the symptoms that one would associate with being under the influence of a powerful hallucinogen. They are pretty. I mean, obviously the throwing up, foaming at the mouth is another one, but when someone's having audio and visual hallucinations, there's obvious signs of that, right? And I don't in the reports of Clavarius coming to the hospital, you don't hear that. So I don't think that that's what's used to put him down. I don't think that, despite the fact that I think he was poisoned to put him in a state where he looked like he was almost dead, I think he's poisoned with something, that there's something different, that he's poisoned to fake his death. They put him in the ground, and the Bakor and whoever's helping him or whatever, they dig him up. And then, only then do they start with the datura, pufferfish, toad cocktail. Only then. So, just food for thought. But they may use both of these potions interchangeably depending on when they need the zombie. When they're done with him, when they need to store him away, they just put him in his they give him the stuff to put him in the death state and put him away. And then they use whatever they use to revive him. Probably, I would speculate that it's maybe like smelling salt methods or something. Michael Knowles actually said he wouldn't even research the subject because it would infect his mind. Sorry, but if you see porn and you like it, that's not... it's you, not it's not hypnosis. If you see in porn and like it, it's not hypnosis. Is there somebody standing across the street?
Identifying himself as Clavarius. And at first she was a little weary because obviously this is years and years later. So she prompted him to call her a childhood nickname that only her and Clavarius will actually know. And he did. And she looked at him a little longer and was like, "This is my brother. This is Clavarius." It looked just like him, except he had a scar on his cheek. And he explained that when he was being buried, he was conscious but paralyzed. And whenever they drew the coffin nails into the wood of his coffin, one pierced his skin.
Oh my gosh.
Can y'all imagine? Just take the skepticism out of whatever you believe, right? Say you don't believe.
Well, I think that right now we can be on the same page with no magic involved, right? These are somehow chemically reduced. I'm not saying I know exactly what formulations they use and stuff, but it's strongly understood or strongly believed and understood that, and based on blood work of these individuals, that they are being poisoned with a cocktail of hallucinogens and sedatives. Yeah, she is kind of hot. I know. Yeah, she's very easy on the eyes.
But just for a second, believe me, if you're being buried alive and you realize what happened to you, and then a big ass coffin nail goes through your face and you can feel all the pain, but you can't say anything. All the villagers that were around him were born and raised, and a lot of them were his age. They recognized this man. And so he begins to tell what happened to him. He said that himself, along with others, were working as zombies on a sugar plantation. And the Bokor was in charge of all of these zombies. He recalls how he had his funeral. He could explain things that happened at his funeral that only he would be able to know, or no one else would be able to know.
Or would anybody who was at the funeral might be able to know? Anybody else who came to the funeral might know? Yeah.
And he explains how that night his Bokor came and dug his body up, exhumed his body, gave him a paste in his mouth, and then began to control him. Himself and other zombies were forced to work on a sugar plantation, and then all of a sudden the Bokor died. And I said earlier, whenever your Bokor...
No, we're not going to do that, Doc. Mordecai, no, that's not cool. Can somebody moderate that for me, please? This is, that's just her culture and religion, bro. Come on. Oh. Anyway. Zombies, yeah. That's how I think that's the difference in the pronunciation between like the American pop culture zombies and zombies from folklore. There's a part towards the end of this though where she gives the floor to this young lady here, and I really want to get to that because she does a great piece on cultural appropriation.
Core that is ruling over your head, that has you bewitched, dies, you are free from the spell. He says that it took him 16 years to regain.
Well, their turbans are popular in most the old world, right? Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia. Yeah, I could do an episode on zombies, about bees that turn into zombies. But they usually, it's usually through a fungal infection.
Gain his sanity, because the Bokor died 2 years after they exhumed Claverius's body. So it wasn't long that he was with the Bokor, but it took even longer.
So Jason, yeah, the people from the bombings walking out of the bombings is what they're talking about in that song. Like because they're like shell shocked, they can't hear their ears are ringing, they're covered with dust and blood and rubble's all around, and they're like kind of just stumbling out of the wreckage. That's what she's talking about in that song. Like they see there's especially in the well, I shouldn't say especially. I just remember mostly in the like late 80s and early 90s. Sometimes we get footage of the troubles, and we would see some of those clips and stuff of the people. Yeah, it was horrific, but that's what they're talking about there. That's like is people like, oh, I want to play as a Halloween song. It's like, well, play as a Halloween song, but you got to know the original meaning of the term that she's using, because it's much more horrific than anything George Romero would ever put out.
Longer for him to gain his mind back and wander back home. Why did this happen to Claverius? There's two different theories, and I believe there's some truth in both of them, because two things can be true at the same time. The first theory is that he abandoned his wife and children, and that was heavily frowned upon back in the 60s. The other reason is that his brother was responsible for this, and usually there's always a hater in your camp. So I believe that both of them may be a little bit the truth. Him and his brother had been beefing over inheritance of land. And they said that instead of doing things the right way, his brother went and got a Bokor. and offered his brother as a sacrifice, like just on a platter.
That's a shitty brother. You know, me and my brother may not be as tight as we used to be, but I hope that my brother would never poison me for inheritance. A chafing cream, what? Why does cranberry juice taste like it doesn't want to be wet? That's true.
Because he wanted the land. Claverius also said that he only returned back to the land after, one, he regained his mind, and two, after his brother's death, because he did not want to fuck around and find out a second time. The villagers were happy to see Claverius. They believed him because they believe in voodoo. And his story also, along with Felicia's, was featured in Tell My Horse by Zora Neale Hurston. His story was loosely adapted into The Serpent and the Rainbow, and this was directed by Wes Craven in 1988, who's also responsible for A Nightmare on Elm Street, the Freddy Krueger saga. Claverius got reacquainted with his community. They accepted him with welcome arms. He lived a pretty long life. He was born January 2nd, 1922, and he didn't pass away until 1994. So he was able to get his story.
So I was alive with this guy, and I never got a chance to interview him. Isn't that the worst? Like a real life zombie, and you get they were alive and well, and then I was 11 years old when they died. So there's no excuse for me to not have interviewed him. It's just laziness on my part, really. But yeah, it sounds like the poor guy was poisoned, and then kept. Let me clear my throat. He was poisoned and then kept drugged, right, for a good while until he finally, at some point, I don't know if he built up a resistance to it, or maybe they missed the dose or something, and he got enough forthwith thought to head out and see if he can make his way back home.
Out in my lifetime, and I truly enjoy learning about this because this is the perfect dose of either betrayal or fuck around and find out. Y'all be the judge. If you guys are still doubting zombies, I'm going to insert some TikToks for you guys to watch, and it's people that have experienced the phenomenon of Haitian zombies. But I did want to share an email that I got back in December about one of my subscribers' experience with a zombie in her family, and she will remain anonymous. I'm going to respect her boundaries. I just truly appreciate you guys sharing this tea with me. I was on the edge of my seat for this story, so I know you guys will be too. So I'm going to read it now. Where should I start? So my uncle got
Yeah, jerk, you got things under control. Thank you.
Deported back to Haiti from the States due to years of crime and drug abuse.
Once the moderation happens, though, we just let it drop, right? We're not going to hassle, and we're just going to let it drop.
We all thought he was doing well. He has a wife, she's pregnant, everything is good. Then he started calling my grandfather constantly for money, which he didn't mind, but it got out of hand because he would call 2 to 3 times out of the week begging. My grandfather told him to stand up and be a man and take care of his family, and he couldn't afford to keep sending him money like that. My uncle didn't like his response and pretty much disrespected his father, demanding for his support. My grandfather didn't like how he was disrespectful. He said he was going to cut all communication, but my grandmother did not. She always made sure to speak with him anytime he called. Now my uncle is going back to his old lifestyle: drugs, robbery, and now voodoo. We heard from other family members that he was dealing with voodoo to get cash and materialistic things, and that got my grandfather even more upset because he was an old priest that now gave his life to Christ, and he despised the fact that he uses the religion for evil things and pretty much disowned him after that because he knew nothing would come good of it.
See, here's my thing with this, right? Being a practitioner of voodoo is really not any worse than being Christian. I think that it's silly to act like one of them is more toxic than the other. They both have their good points, things about like community and stuff that they can offer, and they both have some cringe, and they both have some danger too. I don't think a the Bokor is going to be maybe they will, but I don't think a Bokor is going to like try to just get my rights legislated away. I don't think that they're going to do that, right? So Christians being like, "Oh no, you're into voodoo now, and I reject you," it's kind of cringy in and of itself. It's bad to anyway. Yeah, the idea that our religion, since it's the dominant one, is the most important and the only one that's moral, and all the rest of them are sinister, is something that the Catholic Church has spread all around the world. And it's sad to see someone who's promoting African culture to maybe she's just reading the letter and she doesn't agree with this person, but I am not putting a priest up on a pedestal. I'm not putting a Catholic priest or any other kind of Abrahamic priest up on a pedestal above a Bokor. I'm sorry, I'm not. They're not. I don't think that they have the moral high ground there.
Months later, we got a call from my uncle begging for help because he did something wrong and he doesn't know where to turn. My grandmother then asked him what was going on, and he said he gave his baby up to the spirits. So pretty much he did a ritual and gave his unborn child as a gift for whatever he wanted. Now the baby is here and he's refusing to do so, and bad things are happening to him and he feels like he's being followed. All I remember was my grandmother screaming, asking him what he has done and how bad of a person he was. My grandfather overheard the conversation, grabbed the phone out of her hand, and told him to figure it out and never to call back.
There's just a level of audacity to it, to evangelicals. There's a level of audacity to saying, "Oh, voodoo is evil." Even there's an audacity to saying Satanism is evil, because Satanists don't, as far as I know, they don't harm anyone at any point in time. That's part of their creed, is not to harm anyone. So it's really weird to hear people claiming they have the moral high, or that any Abrahamic faith has the moral high ground. Well, I say that, but there may be some like private sects that mind their own business and don't do anything. I don't want to paint everybody with such a broad brush, but the majority, like the Catholic Church and the majority of Baptists in America, are painted with this brush, at least.
1 week later, we received a call from the morgue claiming they had my uncle's body, and if we don't pay to have him buried, they were going to throw his body out on the street. My grandfather first thought it was a scam and wanted to find out for himself. My grandfather then called 2 family members to go view the body, and he also told them to whisper something in his ear. I don't remember what my grandfather said, but he ordered them to whisper it directly in his ear. We got a call later on that day, and my cousin's exact words were that he whispered in his ear and he started crying in the morgue. Meaning, for context purposes, the uncle's corpse started crying.
Oh.
Once my grandfather clarified that now he's a zombie, my grandfather then ordered for his body to be cremated. So my uncle was burned alive. We found out that the mystical powder that was thrown in his face made him pass out. His body was found.
So that's something that the Yunalushi do as well. We need to cover. Maybe I should do that next week. We'll do Yunalushi next week. Skinwalkers. I found a really good video about it from a Native American point of view too. So doing like the kind of same situation as this, letting the people whose culture this is from tell the story. But they use the same kind of. They call it corpse powder, right? In voodoo it's called zombie powder, but it's what knocks them out. It's what makes them go into the death-like state. The Cladarius situation, he may have been subjected to something similar at first. That's why I'm saying I think there's 2 agents, chemical agents at work here. There is whatever they use to knock them out, which is sounds like it's this powder, the corpse powder, or the zombie powder, depending on which culture you're looking at. It's probably a lot of the same chemicals. I don't know. We'll have to break open some some science on that at some point and explore what's actually in these powders and substances that they use for these rituals. I'd already started like a project on that with the mandrake, so I'm already started working my way through magical ingredients that are used to do these ancient spells and stuff, and actually what kind of qualities they have. So if you didn't watch the mandrake video, probably like link it up there or something. Maybe you just drop it in the side chat over here. So anyway, yeah, let's continue on.
In the street, and he was pronounced deceased. He was fully conscious, but all vitals were gone. Once buried, the person that casted the spell digs up the body and uses them as a personal zombie. My grandfather's exact words were that he would not allow these bad people to use his son to do bad things to others, and that he created his own.
Stool, did you bring enough zombie powder for everyone? We all need zombie powder. Jason, will you frisk Stool for some zombie powder? I need him. I need my fix. Just blast me right in the face with it. Ready.
Own path and now has to deal with God. I felt horrible for what happened to my uncle, but he fucked around and found out. I'm sorry, that last part. This is why you need to be careful as to what you tap into. Because she's right. Her uncle absolutely fucked around and found out. And I don't know the backstory as to why.
Do several lines of zombie powder. Woo! That'll get your blood flowing. You prefer zombie flour? I'm not good with uppers. Oh.
Grandpa didn't want to save him, or even if he couldn't, more than likely it's because he gave his life to Christ. But the uncle definitely played in some shit that he shouldn't have. But in this segment, we're going to share some ticky-tacks, some TikToks.
She usually says the fuck around and find out part there. I'm kind of sad she didn't. That's like her catchphrase.
About the zombie. And you guys will see that a lot of these people look like me and you. They don't look like what us Americans think a zombie should look like, because that is a perception that was taken from Haitian culture, brought over, made into scary movies, and exploited. Because at the end of the day, zombies don't necessarily look dead. They could look malnutritioned.
Stool wants big chocolatey brains.
But they look like me and you. I will be tagging all the creators in the description of this video. Go ahead and give them a follow on TikTok if you are over there. This first video comes from a user named Trisha the Angel, and she just breaks it down a little bit further. And this is mainly for people that may be a little still confused on the difference between American zombies and Haitian zombies. Just watch.
So as I mentioned in the previous video, the origin of zombies can be traced back to Africa.
This is base, and I'm probably not going to interrupt her very much, so I'm just going to let her talk, because this is really good.
So as I mentioned in the previous video, the origin of zombies can be traced back to Africa, specifically Central Western Africa, through Haiti. Zombies were made popular through Haiti. Haitians descend from Africa. And the word zombie itself, or zombie, as it said in Haitian Creole, originates from my language, Kikongo. It originates from my people's language, Kikongo, and other Bantu dialects from that region. The origin of zombies is so different from what we've come to know today. These days, they're cool, they're trendy, they're funny. But the real meaning behind zombies is sad. The origin and real meaning of zombies comes from the very real fear of millions of African and African descended people, from the past to the present. The fear of being enslaved, of having your freedom taken away from you. Zombies is essentially a supernatural allegory to slavery. Our ancestors were terrified. Their lives were being taken away from them, their freedom, their decisions, their agency, and they were being turned into these objects that people could use for their own gain. That is a fear that was real then, and it is a fear that is still real now. You get African refugees that are being sold into slavery. You get young women and girls that are being sold into marriage. Orphan children get turned into house slaves because there's no one to look out for them. This is a very real fear that was taken and turned into a commercial joke. I see a lot of people on the internet talking about how we're trying to steal their history, their mythology through Lord of the Rings and having black elves and now Ariel. Meanwhile, look what you did to our mythology. You took a very real fear, a tragedy of millions of people, and you turned.
And I said I wasn't going to interrupt, but I do want to say I don't think George Romero's Night of the Living Dead belongs in this list. He never used the term zombie. This was before Hollywood started using the term zombie in the way to describe Romero's creations. He called them ghouls, and they had nothing at all to do with the Haitian traditional zombie. So other than that, I'm fine with what she's saying here. I think Romero probably can come off the list.
Turned it into a joke. You turn it into something that is trendy and cool. George A. Romero is considered by many to be the one who ushered in the modern day zombie craze. But essentially what happened, the traditional zombie was westernized. You took the original face of zombification and replaced it with this.
It's always good to be informed, and she hit the nail on the head. We have glorified zombies, we have The Walking Dead, the Night of the Living Dead, and all of that kind of comes from African and Caribbean culture. Now these next couple of videos come from...
So I don't know if I would agree with that about Romero's zombies, though. Again, Romero not using the word zombies, people appropriating the word zombies and applying it to Romero's creation is what happened. I think that's the way it looks historically. Now, it's the movie Zombie, which was a sequel to Night of the Living Dead that was... Oh, damn it, I can't remember I'll have to do a timeline of that. Maybe I'll do the closing for this video as a timeline of that. But let's let her kind of wrap up here. She's just got a few more minutes left.
A TikTok account called Orisha Rising. And I do want to ask everyone to be respectful. Even if you don't believe in this kind of stuff, we are not going to disrespect spirit and disrespect actual believers and practitioners. So these videos...
I don't disrespect people. I will not respect silly beliefs, though, about magic. So I do believe in chemistry and pharmaceuticals. Actually, I work in the pharmaceutical industry. So, yeah.
They're very, very interesting. It is about a young man who is said to be a zombie. And it appears that his father has reclaimed him and he is just a shell of who he used to be. Y'all watch this and give me y'all opinion.
This is Wilfred Dorison, a dead man who is still alive. 18 months after he was buried and this death certificate issued, he reappeared. Wilfred has made legal history. The High Court of Haiti has officially declared him to be a zombie. Port-au-Prince, capital of the Caribbean island of Haiti, home of voodoo. The starting point for an expedition to track down Wilfred Dorison. Littlewood nor Gorinsky have been to Haiti before. Both will take a lot of convincing that zombies exist. But here in Haiti, no one has doubts. Everyone is certain that voodoo sorcerers have the power to bring the dead back to life. But
zombies? It sounds incredible to me, but this, after all, is what's supposed to have happened.
Agreed. Woo is woo, regardless of what skin tone it comes from. That's why I'm like, I will dive into Asian zombies and Navajo skinwalkers and African Nandy bears and Aboriginal bunyips and stuff like that. The people that report stuff like this, it doesn't matter. People have a folklore and superstitions and misidentifications and sympathetic magic that they've practiced for generations. Every culture does, you know. But this, what I like about the zombie is that there's actually there is some evidence of chemical interference. So it is they are actually somebody is actually doing something to people. They are actually drugging them, and there is some kind of practice that takes place that involves faking that someone's dead and then bringing them back as a slave.
To Wilfred Dorison. Wilfred lives in one of the most inaccessible parts of. Could we ask him?
Right, I think most of it's psychodrama, Sumami. I really think. Let's see. To me, anything that is clearly intended to be fictional is just storytelling, and by that, it's not cultural appropriation. Just using a story element. Yeah, I don't know about, like, when it comes to using the word zombie, I do kind of see how people can take umbrage with that. This is just like people use the word skinwalker and then describe it, actually talking about a werewolf, because they're different, right? People that use the terminology inappropriately, I guess I can sort of sympathize with the culture that comes from, right? It's like if someone appropriated, like I don't know, leprechauns, and instead of making them little green dudes, they made them like Lord of the Ring elves or something, and said, nope, these are leprechauns now. That would annoy Irish people, right? But that's kind of where I'm getting at with that.
How did he escape? Before he died. Could be the same person. It's got more thick set. Fatter face, but Wilfred's lost a lot. Merci madame. Wilfred's lost a lot of weight.
Wilfred's mother recognised her dead son from his broken finger, which he'd injured playing football.
That was a lot.
Wait a second. You recognized your son from his injured finger, not from his face? Not from how he looks? It's like I think I could recognize my own child pretty well. Maybe. I don't know. But not from a broken finger. Lots of people break fingers. The person seems to be displaying some nonverbal behaviors, though. So I don't know what's up with that. Hopefully they didn't kidnap some autistic person thinking that it was their son. But
I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. But if you believe, you believe. I mean, they knew or thought that he was deceased, and he wasn't. And I thought the interview style was very well set, that they had someone who I believe is either on the Discovery Channel or the Travel Channel come out and kind of just interview him and get the vibes and see what was going on. I pray that this young man has healed from whatever is either afflicting him or tormenting him. This next one is from our friend, in my head we're friends, Priestess Rose. It's a really quick one. I'm going to mute any music because she's just telling about her experience with a zombie, and I just love her run mutuals. I feel like I'm a part of an elite club and all that other stuff. But make sure you give Priestess Rose a follow. I'm going to actually tag her YouTube. I had no idea she had one, but I'm going to be tagging her TikTok as well.
okay.
I don't know, y'all. Zombies.
Wait,
zombie.
is that it? That time in Haiti, my
I
grandpa.
don't know, y'all. But I'm going to be tagging her TikTok as well.
That time in Haiti, my grandfather brought my cousin back to life days after she died. That's just
I don't know, y'all. Zombies,
blunt statement.
zombies are seeming like it's a thing.
Bold claims require bold evidence. Like, this extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. If somebody's brought back from the dead days after they died, let's get some names and documentation on that instead of just claiming it hollow. Like, if they were declared dead by medical professionals, then were they just assumed dead by the family and then revived?
And like I said, there are some worldly things that have to happen for the spiritual to happen. But I still believe. And that's it. That's just all I'm saying. That is all for today, YouTube.
Well, I think it's completely chemical. I think a lot of it is folklore, maybe some suggestive hypnosis involved, but generally it sounds a lot like poisoning and drugging someone. But that's just me. That's what I believe.
Thank you again for your continued support. If you have a spooky, haunted people, places, or things.
Okay, she's gonna just do her plug here. I'm gonna just go back and plug her channel again. This is the Black Cauldron. Pretty big channel, so she's got lots of followers. Now, there are a couple of things I just did want to go over real quick. This is science and how stuff works .com. And we're talking about the Haitian zombie powder. I'm just going to go read this through. It's not too long. So I'm just going to read this through for us real quick. Davis traveled to Haiti at the request of Dr. Nathan S. Klein, which is who we talked to, who wrote this article. Right? That's the, serpent and rainbow guy. Anyway, who theorized that a drug was responsible for Narcisse's experiences as a zombie. Since such a drug could have medicinal uses, particularly in the field of anesthesiology, Klein hoped to gather samples, analyze them, and determine how they worked. Davis learned that Haitians who believed in zombies believed that the Bocor's sorcery, not a poison or a drug, created them. According to local lore, the Bokor captures a victim, T-Bon-ing, or the part of the soul directly connected to an individual to create a zombie. But during his research, Davis discovered that the Bokor used complex powders made from dried and ground plants and animals in their rituals. Davis collected 8 samples of the zombie powder in 4 regions of Haiti. Their ingredients were not identical, but 7 of the 8 had 4 ingredients in common. 1 or more species of pufferfish, which often contain a deadly neurotoxin called tetrodotoxin. A marine toad, which produces numerous toxic substances, bufotoxin being the hallucinogenic one. A hyla tree frog, which secretes an irritating but not deadly substance, and human remains. In addition, the powders contained other plants and animal ingredients like lizards and spiders, which would be likely to irritate the skin. Some even included ground glass. The use of pufferfish intrigued Davis. Tetrodotoxin causes paralysis and death in victims. Pop up, sorry. Where was I? The victims of tetrodotoxin poisoning often remain unconscious until just before death. The paralysis prevents them from reacting to stimuli, much like what Claverius Narcisse described about his own death. Doctors have also documented cases in which people ingest tetrodotoxin and appear dead but eventually made a complete recovery. Davis theorized that the powder applied topically created irritation and breaks the victim's skin. The tetrodotoxin could then pass into the bloodstream, paralyzing the victim, which causes him to appear dead. The family would bury the victim and the Bokor would remove the body from the grave. If all had gone well, the victim, if all had gone wrong, the poison would wear off and the victim would believe himself to be a zombie. While Davis's theory is promising, it does have some holes in it. Next, we'll look at some of the controversy surrounding Davis's work. At first glance, Davis's research seems promising. Tetrodotoxin definitely causes paralysis and death, and researchers have documented cases in which people have recovered from near-fatal tetrodotoxin poisoning. Some of the samples Davis brought back to the United States also produced dramatic results when applied to shaved skin of rats and rhesus monkeys. The subjects became lethargic and immobile, but they eventually recovered completely. Other researchers, however, have raised questions about the legitimacy of Davis's research and the actual components of the sample he brought back from Haiti. Scientists have questioned Davis's ethics since he observed the desecration of graves when gathering ingredients for the powder, questioned whether the initial experiment with the powder were scientific or controlled, and whether other substances had been added to the powder being tested. Alleged that the samples of powder contained little to no tetrodotoxin. Davis countered that putting the powder into solution for testing may have destroyed the active ingredients. Revealed that Davis repeated his topical application of the powder using rats and saw absolutely no effect. Studied several alleged zombies and discovered clear cases of mental illness and mistaken identity, which is what Sumami was pointing out earlier. A lot of people view Davis's work as the only possible explanation for Haitian zombie phenomena. Others dismiss it as unscientific or even fraudulent. You can learn more about the controversies regarding Haitian zombies and Davis's research in the April 15th, 1988 issue of the journal Science, and October 11, 1997 issue of Lancet. Haitian zombies have been the inspiration for movies, books, and video games. Yeah, and then we're not going to look at the portrayal in pop culture. I'm not really interested in that. But yeah, so it's not cut and dry. Nothing's final on this. But it is an interesting case of folklore and medicine kind of coming to heads in the most interesting ways. So, yeah, what do you think? Do you think that the whole thing is a psychodrama, that people are active participants? Do you think that real zombies exist that are chemically induced, of course? Or do you think that there's actually magic? Let me know in the comments down below. We are here every Saturday morning on Live from the Hive. You can join us too at 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time and be part of this amazing crowd over here who loves to keep me entertained for the most of the show and laughing my way through these topics. Please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time.